I'm happy to introduce our first speaker today, who is Dr. Jody Gangloff-Kaufman. She is the coordinator of the Community IPM program at the New York State IPM program. And today she's talking about a new campaign that we have at the IPM program called Our Land, Our Water. And I will let Jody take it away.
Thanks everybody for being here today. Yes, you're present for the launch of Our Land, Our Water. So let me see if I can make this thing move forward. Okay, let's start with the basics. Long Island, this is a Long Island focused, at this time, project, but Long Island's unique because we have our drinking water comes right out of the ground, out of underground aquifers. And as you can see, there are several layers to these aquifers. So they are, well, several layers, but they're all vulnerable to contamination. And we know these days that there are a lot of contaminants in the water. So home wells are usually attached to this upper layer, which is the most contaminated, unfortunately, and municipal wells go down to that second layer of the aquifer. But because all of this resides underneath our feet, it is subject to everything we put on the ground. And so here are some pesticides that have been found in Long Island's drinking water. They're color-coded by type, and I think it's interesting. There's one purple named there, triclosan, which is an antibacterial that you find in soaps and things. So all of these have been found in Long Island's drinking water, and these are the ingredients that are found in consumer products, over-the-counter products. So we can't say that this is just a result of agricultural practices. This is all of us using products, in and around our homes or buildings and things. And you can see the location of the test wells down here. They span the entire island. So it's not just an agricultural problem here. In response to this information, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation developed the Long Island Pesticide Pollution Prevention Strategy. And the overall goal of this was to protect Long Island's water quality, that underground water, from pesticide-related impacts. Of course, there are plenty of other chemicals that get in that water, but if we can mitigate some of them, we'll be doing a good job. So we want to reduce the pesticide-related impacts while continuing to have decent pest management on Long Island. And DEC focused initially on 3 and then 3 additional pesticides or priority pesticides that were being found in groundwater. I have imidacloprid and diclobenyl highlighted because those are 2 of the consumer products. Imidacloprid is now restricted use on Long Island, but it did make it into the water and people can have their landscaper apply it. So the DEC held some public stakeholder meetings to discuss opportunities and barriers and problems, and they developed some good guidance on using these things correctly and alternatives to using these products. And they also funded an outreach campaign to raise awareness, and hello, Our Land, Our Water was born. So the goals of Our Land, Our Water are to help Long Islanders reduce or refine, perfect their pesticide and fertilizer use. We want them to be using these things responsibly and or consider alternatives. Through this campaign, we will promote sustainable turf and landscape management. We know that we can do this. We know there are proven techniques for sustainable landscaping. And we want to influence Long Islanders who either use lawn and garden chemicals at home, so maybe they're buying them at Home Depot or something, or they're hiring a lawn care company to do this product work. As you can see, this picture was done by a landscaper. Or they're working as landscape professionals. We want to target those folks too because they are decision makers. And the ultimate goal is, of course, to protect Long Island's drinking water, but not just that. We want to protect the marine environment. We're surrounded by salt water, and it's the source of recreation and food, and the wetland environments protect that water. So we want to protect surface waters, groundwater, and including lakes and streams, because fertilizers lead to harmful algal blooms every single year in many of the lakes and streams that we see. So America has an obsession with the lawn. Let's just put it out there. Abe Levitt of Levittown fame popularized the suburban lawn as he and his team built 17,000 plus homes for returning World War II vets who moved into the suburbs. And each of these homes had a lawn, every man has his estate. Today, there's something like 25 to 40 million acres of turf grass in the country, and includes all sorts of turf grass, but it's a bigger crop than cotton or irrigated corn, which is pretty significant, and every year there's more turf grass. Lawn care is huge. We spend $40 billion on lawn care alone, or, lawn care. And not surprisingly, as household income grows, lawn care inputs grow as well. So the more money you have, the more you spend on your lawn. So we have people we can target, right? There are barriers, though, to changing lawn care behaviors. Less than a third of people who do it themselves even bother to identify the problem. So you see this turf grass here, what's the problem? Well, it could be one of a number of things. And people tend to like simple, so packaged 4-step programs that help you manage your lawn care, whether you need those products or not. Those are the way that the industry has simplified the use of products on lawns, and anyone can do it, right? And compare that with IPM, which is unfamiliar, it's complicated, you need to know a lot, you need to make judgments based on weather and climate. So, and another barrier here is that social norms pressure people to aim for the perfect lawn. So if one person in a neighborhood has a perfect lawn, everyone else is probably striving to achieve that as well. And I think the biggest barrier I have encountered in the work, building this campaign, has been, if what I'm doing is working, why would I change that? The perception that they may be causing pollution, that a homeowner putting something down on their lawn is causing problems, that perception is not there. They don't see any kind of effect, a negative effect. So if it's working, why would I change that? This is the barrier that we have to overcome. There are plenty of opportunities, though, for sustainable landscapes. Remember, Long Island is an incredibly diverse place, not just with people, their origins and their heritage, but also their opinions and their politics. And there are a lot of activists and a lot of nature lovers here. That's, it's just a diverse place, and we have plenty of opportunity to gather audiences who will listen. And 40% of Long Islanders have their bachelor's degree, so it's a fairly educated population here too. I find this amazing. 8.1 million people live here. That includes 5 million in Brooklyn and Queens, and here we're just focused on Nassau and Suffolk County because that is where the groundwater issues are. But there's a lot of people here. Long Islanders take pride in their home's curb appeal. It's rare that you see a house that doesn't have landscaping. And Long Islanders have a strong connection to the marine environment. Even if you don't like the beach, you do. Everyone cares about, everyone can wake up in the morning and smell the ocean at some point. So we have strong connections to this salt water that surrounds us. And people here do understand where their water comes from, for the most part, and they recognize that there are threats to groundwater. So, overall, most people care about the environment, but very few people put those cares into action. And this is where we can hopefully help. Little things, little pushes. So some of the strategies since we're launching this today, you will see these strategies come into use. We are about to appeal to Long Island's pride, Long Island strong, making the place a better place, a beautiful place. Protecting the marine waters so that we can use them for recreation and food. Protecting drinking water for your kids and your grandkids. That's usually what, people will listen to. Social norms. We can use social norms to our advantage to say your neighbor down the block is mowing higher. Maybe you can mow higher too. Or nudging. Simple positive reminders and calendar-based information that we push out on social media and gain an audience. We also have a demonstration about to happen, so I'll talk about that in a minute. And other tools like a lawn IQ quiz where you get a score, that could be fun. And eventually asking our social media audience to share their own progress, just like What's Bugging You, First Friday's photo contest. We want to see what people are doing for IPM, right? So here are a few of the things that have been developed. It's hard to explain something like the 1/3 rule in turf grass. You want to cut 1/3 of the blade off, not more than that, right? So, but to explain that this results in less mowing overall is kind of hard, and hopefully this chart does some of the work there. Mowing high and not mowing more than 1/3 of the rule. If people would just follow those rules, they would have a more lush and healthy lawn. We want to encourage people to rethink weeds and generally diversity in their lawn, because pollinators rely so heavily on early season flowers like this dandelion. And, you know, another message, leave the leaves. There are benefits to a messy yard, and trying to promote those messages. So these little nudges, you know, hopefully. We also have some lawn mowing cards to hand out in person with people. And this is just a guide for mowing your lawn when it reaches 4 inches, cut it only to 3 inches, and some other instructions on the back here. These are replicas of a card that we created in a project long ago. But it's very useful. People like them. So we'll be handing those out. We have our website finally, and ourlandourwater.org redirects to the New York State IPM website, the section that is devoted to this project. And I think it's really important to note that we're not recreating any information. We are linking to the best information we have here. So information like Lawn Care Without Pesticides, that is a lovely publication. We're going to take it and make it into bite-sized pieces that people will read through their social media channels. Right? And the Homeowner's Lawn Care and Water Quality Almanac, that's something that's easily made into a calendar-based approach for reminders of what to do and when to do it. So some of the messages of this project will be things like don't fertilize before April 1st. People around Long Island, in my walking around during my dog walks and stuff, a lot of people are fertilizing before April 1st, and the grass isn't really even growing. So those are the kind of messages we really start with, these basic messages of when to do things, when it's legal to do things. Leave the clippings on the lawn, leave the dandelions for the bees, mow high, you want to mow high, and sweep granules off hard surfaces. I'm going to play this little tiny video. Oh, you're not going to be able to hear it, are you? No, it's just a little music. So messages like this hopefully will hit home. I was a little afraid of dropping my phone. Okay. So, additional messages include things like how much water is enough. People get a little confused about how to water their lawns when it gets very dry. And you see a lot of times people will put their sprinklers on for 10 minutes, each day, 10 minutes. And that's just a way to promote disease and shallow roots, right? So if we can instruct people on how to water properly, they're going to do it. So do it right, and maybe they'll have better results. Messages about clover and about going dormant. I think that's a big one. In the late summer, lawns should be able to go dormant. And then we have the arrival of spotted lanternfly. That this year is going to be the big year for New York, for Long Island, the city, and whatnot. And so we're going to want to try to leverage those, that people notice the spotted lanternfly, and try to leverage that as part of this campaign as well. And in the fall, there are other types of messages: overseeding the lawn, leaving the leaves, benefits of mulch mowing. And in there, we can also get messages about light pollution and pollinators and pollinator gardening and invasive species. So we're not limited just to reducing pesticide use. We want to see an entire sustainable landscape educational package here. Also in this year, 2022, I will be doing some field demonstrations at 2 schools. One is on the North Shore of Long Island, one's on the South Shore. Each school is offering about 1,000 square feet of front lawn on the high school front lawn, where we'll do a sustainable management demonstration. We're going to mow high, we're going to aerate as needed, overseed with the right kind of grass seed, and compare the aesthetics and the weed counts to other parts of the lawn that are not being managed this way. And we will have some signs that describe what's going on and have links back to our program. And hopefully, the kids won't destroy these things and everything will, work in our favor, let's hope. Part 2 of this project will be to reach out to landscape professionals through the network of professional organizations. With all of these, messages, with the more professional landscape technical information as well, and try to encourage them to at least do lawn care responsibly by, applying their pesticides and fertilizers responsibly. In the end, maybe the end of this year, we will start evaluating the campaign for impact. We know it's very difficult to get impact data from the anonymous public. So we will have to rely on social media engagements and questions and answers if people in the public decide to ask us questions, and public surveys, But why should I care about Long Island? Well, this project is intended to be scalable to the rest of New York because water quality issues are throughout New York State and not entirely agriculture related. There are plenty of other underground water sources that are contaminated and surface waters that are contaminated. So this can be scalable to the whole state. All of this information is intended to be, useful to everybody. So that's all I have today. I have to thank the DEC folks, Jim Carpentier, Scott Menrath, and Joyce Rodler, and my team, and Frank Rossi, and the Turfgrass team, and overall, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody. I think your last slide there is really important for everybody to keep in mind, is that this isn't just Long Island based, that there are things that affect everybody's property where they're managing their turf, and ways that we could be better stewards of our own property. So I think that's a really important message. So thank you for sharing that. Are there anybody have any questions? If you do, you can please put them in the chat and we will have Jody answer those for us. In the meantime, Amara, if you'd like to share your slides. Our next speaker is Dr. Amara Dunn, and she is the biocontrol specialist with the New York State IPM program. And today she'll be talking to us about spring cleaning in the garden. And so I will let Amara take it away.
All right, thank you, Matt. So yes, I have subtitled this presentation, "Is it too early to clean up my garden?" Because that's really the question that we're going to be answering in the next few minutes here. This is a picture actually from my garden about a week ago. This is obviously not a clean garden. You can see they've got a few daffodils, some tulips coming up. There's also a lot of stems and some leaves left over from last year. So the quick answer to this question, is it too early to clean up my garden today on April 1st, is yes, it is too early to clean up your garden. I know at least in the Finger Lakes in Geneva where I am, it doesn't feel like a great day to clean up your garden, but there were some warm days about a week ago and people were really excited to get outside. The reasons that you should maybe pause on cleaning up your garden are because you want to be protecting insects that are doing some great services for you around your garden and in your yard. And basically these are two categories, wild bees, and then a group I'm calling lady beetles, lightning bugs, and a lot more that's hiding in the leaf litter. So there are a lot of wild bee species that are nesting right now in dead stems that might be in your garden. And in this picture here on the right is a fuzzy little wild bee, very cute. And if you are cutting down these dead stems and sending them in bags to your local compost facility, or even worse, putting them out with your trash, which we don't want you to do, you are taking those bees off your property and they will get composted. The lady beetles, lightning bugs, and a lot more insects that are hiding in the leaf litter are also great natural enemies of pests. And so you definitely want to keep those around your yard and garden. And so at the bottom of this slide, I have a ground beetle. In this picture on the left, it has really big jaws. We don't notice these beetles so often, but they are eating insects and also weed seeds. either at the soil level or maybe underneath some mulch. If you clean up leaves too early, you're disturbing these beetles before it's warm enough for them to start finding food. This next picture is an adult firefly or lightning bug, depending on which part of the country you grew up in. And the larvae of the fireflies are also going to be spending the winter under the leaf litter. And then I have two pictures of lady beetles. One is a pink spotted lady beetle hanging out on the zinnia, and one is a 7-spotted lady beetle. And these are just more examples of beneficial insects that need that leaf litter that is in your messy garden right now to survive until the temperatures get a little bit warmer. So when do I clean up my garden? All right, it's too early now, but when can I start? Today might not be the best weather day, although I hear on Long Island it is a beautiful day. But we will hopefully be having some great weather even here in upstate New York, and you might want to get outside. None of the dates or suggestions that I have on this slide are set in stone, but if you are looking for some specifics, here are some that you can think about. One recommendation is to wait until you submit your taxes, so at least until April 15th, but longer would probably be better. So it's probably going to still be pretty chilly here on April 15th, and if you clean up your entire garden, you may still be taking away some important shelter for insects. Another option would be to wait until your lawn needs regular mowing, and that's because cool season grasses won't start growing until the soil warms up to a certain temperature. If you have apple and pear trees that are nearby, you can wait to see when they're done blooming, which will probably be around mid-May, depending on where you live. Or if you want to be really on the safe side, you can wait until you're ready to plant your tomatoes outside, which around here is usually late May. But this is going to be when temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This is just another picture of another messy part of my garden. My lawn garden is not winning any prizes on my street, but I'm protecting a lot of insects. Also, just want to give you permission to not try to achieve perfection when it comes to leaving your messy garden. So here are two examples of some small cleanup that I did in my garden. So in this picture on the left, it's hard to see, but there's actually a hyacinth under all these dead stems. So I cut away enough dead stems that this little hyacinth and also this yarrow plant could get some sunlight. And then I also had some dead calendula stems that were covering up this nice clump of early daffodils, and I wanted to give them a chance to bloom and get some sunlight, so I cut out those dead stems too. I left most of the rest of my garden messy, and I just want to give you official permission. If there's a part of your garden that you really, really want to clean up, it's okay. You're not a bad person. What I did do though, was these stems that I cut out of my garden, I piled them next to my compost pile in the back of my yard. So I didn't bag them up and take them away, just in case there's any insects still sleeping, overwintering in these stems. They're still on my property. You can also see here, I have some dead sunflower stems from last fall, and I think these were cosmos. I will note that if you join us next month for What's Bugging You First Friday, you will learn why there are some things that are not optimal about this compost facility that I have set up here. So be sure to tune in for May's What's Bugging You First Friday. And then in this picture on the right, I have a garden bed in my backyard that people don't see. It gets a lot of shade. It's kind of a better spot for a more wild and woodsy garden. So this is another situation where it's going to be easier for me to leave this spot a little bit messier. Whereas my front yard, I might say I want to clean up more of it compared to the backyard. The other note I will add here is that we do have great information on our website about the relationship between how you manage your lawn and your yard and ticks. That's the question people ask. Oh, if I don't clean up my garden, will I have problems with ticks? We've got answers for you on our website about that concern. And that is all I have. So my take-home message this weekend, your task is do not clean up your garden. That's all you have to do.
Excellent. Thank you, Amara. There were a few questions that came in. I think you addressed the first one. What if you put the cut stems and other plant material in your own compost pile? But I think you're suggesting maybe putting them on the side so that things can still emerge.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on what kind of compost pile you have. If it's a compost pile that's really active, maybe put your stems on the side so that your insects don't actively compost. My compost pile that I showed you a picture of is definitely not active. It's a much more passive compost pile. They would probably be okay in that pile. And I think, you know, you don't want to bury the stems too deeply. There's a question in the chat, can I put compost on top of the leaves and dead brush? I would leave them uncovered until you get to like midsummer. By midsummer, all the insects will have come out regardless of the type of insect it is. And then you can compost those dead stems and leaves any way you'd like.
We're at 12:30, so I just wanted to put some links in the chat. First is our YouTube playlist. So if you wanted to revisit today's presentation or a previous presentation, those are available. And then also our photo contest, you can submit either from the registration page or from this bit.ly link. And we are excited to see what photos you submit for next week's First Friday. So thank you everybody for attending, and thank you for our two presenters today on two timely and important topics. We hope everyone has a great weekend.